hello and Happy New Year to everybody associated with Hull City, because it's been a wonderful end to what has been a really difficult and turbulent 12 months at the football club. A 1-0 victory here at Ewood Park. Wow. Where to start? Ryan Longman's goal 13 minutes from time was enough to seal a 1-0 victory for the Tigers, and their first clean sheet in, I think, 127 days, if my abacus is right, dating back to the 24th of August when they drew 0-0 with Millwall at the MKM Stadium. But this was a really, really hard-fought victory against, a Blackburn side that have... Hello. I didn't want to do that. Apologies. That have been in really good form. Okay, they've drawn a couple and whatnot, but they were fifth in the table coming into this game, and had obviously been flying under John Eustace. But this was a victory that City worked really hard for. They rode their luck at times, but I think if you've watched any games involving City this season, you'd understand and you'd agree that they've probably not had that little bit of luck when they've needed it at times through the season so far, and it shone for them today. And I think back to the game, Pandor in goal, it's not really had too much to do. A couple of little bits and pieces here and there. Yes, Blackburn missed a couple of absolutely gilt-edged chances that on another day you would expect them to score. But as I said to Ruben just now, away from home, at any point in the season, wherever you are in the table, you need a little bit of luck. You need the opposition to maybe miss a chance or two, and that's what Blackburn did. And when the chance came at the other end, so often this season we've seen City not take that chance, but it came to Ryan Longman, and he slotted in brilliantly at the back post with a really cool volley from Ruben Slater's pass. So an assist for Regan. You know, he's had a difficult few weeks with a couple of really big chances that he's missed. He had a couple of decent moments in the first half where he could have scored, but was tackled out of it, or the goalkeeper blocked, or whatever else. But yeah, a good ball from Regan, and Ryan scored. And it's been a difficult time for Ryan. I think that's his first goal in over 2 years. I think away at Rotherham was his last goal for Hull City. So great for him to get on the score sheet. He could have had a second as well at the back post. Ainsley Pears made a really good save. City had the ball in the net for Abu Kamara. João Pedro was judged to have been just offside. I've not seen a replay myself. Some of the press corps here say he was actually onside, João Pedro, when he headed it back at the back post to Kamara, who angled a clever finish into the top corner. And Gustavo Puerta also hit a post with a really neat finish that he probably should have scored with. But even so, it was a really good effort. And what I liked about City was when they did go 1-0 up, they didn't sit back, and we've all watched enough games to see teams, particularly away from home, they have that inevitable, right, you've gone 1-0 up, you've scored in the final few minutes away from home, you naturally fall a bit deeper and you fall a bit further back, and the pressure comes and the home team pepper your goal, your penalty box with crosses and balls in. That didn't really happen, if I'm honest. City's best form of defence was attack, and we know that Ruben Selles wants his team to press forward when they score. He doesn't want them to sit back and hold what they've got. He wants them to go and try and get that second goal and win the game, and not leave anything to chance. And they were very close to doing it. Like I say, they did have to ride their luck, and you know they were bottom three coming into today's game for a reason, because they can't keep clean sheets, as we've said a million times before. They don't score goals and don't keep clean sheets. So they they needed that little bit of luck. They needed, Todd Cantwell and Owen Beck to miss good chances. But as I say, I'm scratching my head trying to find where Pandor had to make a really good save. I thought there was one at the end, in fairness. I thought in real time, in injury time, I thought he made a bouncing save away to his right, but it was an Alfie Jones block. And as some of you are saying in the comments there, Alfie Jones was an absolute colossus today. And I know Alfie Jones has been getting a bit of stick from some City fans this season. And I think he would agree that his performances perhaps haven't been as good as they were alongside Jacob Greaves last season. I've sort of suggested my opinion for what it's worth on that is I think that Alfie has struggled losing Jacob, but also I think he's found the transition difficult under Tim Walter. What he was being asked to do, I think he found that difficult. But now under Ruben, he's back to a more familiar way of working, what he's being asked to do. And he was the skipper today because Louis Coyle started the game on the bench. We'll come to that in just a minute. But Alfie was brilliant. He made one absolutely belting block in the first half off the line. Matty Jacob, who was back in for his first start today since the opening day, him and McLaughlin were turned inside out, and then the shot was going in the far corner. Panda was beating all ends up, and Alfie Jones got back onto the line to block it. I mean, if that goes in the first half, we may again be having a very different conversation. A bit like we said on Boxing Day at Preston, had Regan Slater have scored early, then the conversation at the end may have been a very different one to what it turned out to be. But alas, City, when they needed Jones, I thought McLaughlin had a really shaky start, but Sean grew into the game, and him and Alfie were very, very good. Cody Drame was back in on the right. He had a good game after again a nervy couple of moments early on. Matty Jacob, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Matty's not played. He's had a few sporadic cameos in the last couple of weeks here and there. But as I said, that was his first start since opening day against Bristol City. So, and it was always going to be a difficult ask against their tricky right winger. But he stood up to his task. But what I would say is, when Ruben made changes on Boxing Day at Deepdale, they didn't work. I mean, Chris Beddy was an example. It just didn't work. But he made 3 changes, I think, on 58 minutes. He brought on Alzate, Coyle and Ryan Longman. And all 3 changes made a difference. Coyle was very, very solid down the left-hand side. He went on at left-back, very solid down the left-hand side, cut off that supply line, which had been quite decent for Rovers. Alzate coming into the midfield, again, bit of a shaky start when he first came on the pitch, but grew into it. And Alzate was only, I don't want to say dropped, because that makes it sound harsh, but obviously he's not played a lot of football. He's still finding his full match fitness. So to have asked him to play again today from the start, I think Ruben made the right decision there, and he came on and he made a real difference. And then obviously Ryan came off the bench and scored the winning goal. What a great moment for him, because it's been difficult for Ryan. He's often much maligned. Spent last season out on loan at Millwall, has come back, got injured here, been in and out the team. But to score that winning goal in front of 1,200 away fans, I thought the away fans were really good here today, really, really vocal in their backing of City, and they got that deserved win. So, what can you say? It's been a really tough year, but for City to come away to Blackburn and get 3 points and get out of the bottom 3, particularly important, I think, when you look at the next 2 home games, Middlesbrough on New Year's Day and then Leeds United. They are 2 really difficult games, and not many outside of East Yorkshire, or certainly the whole City community, will give City much of a chance of getting anything from those 2 games. But buoyed by this win, what they've got to do now is obviously enjoy tonight, enjoy the fact they've won a game, because they've not won many. They've not won many away from home. I think that's just the third. Well, it is just the third after Stoke and QPR. Enjoy it, but now what we wanted them to do after the Swansea game is now put a run together, get some momentum. They've got an opportunity. Yes, 2 really difficult games, but equally a real opportunity against 2 very good teams at this level. If they can get 2 positive results, that would set them up beautifully going into the new year, and of course into the January transfer window, which is going to be big for them. They need reinforcements. They need quality to come in and hit the ground running, as we've said on these videos. And if you've listened to the 1904 Club podcast, then you'll know that we've talked about players coming in that need to be able to come in and make an impact straight away. It's no good them coming in and us being told, well, they'll be all right in 6 weeks when they get fit. That is 6 weeks from January. It's too late. You're getting into the end of February, March time, and by that point, the season's ebbing away. They need players that are going to come in and hit the ground running, can either keep goals out the net or put goals in the other net. That's what they need. So, but I do feel positive. I said on Boxing Day, even though they'd lost, I still felt that there's reasons to be optimistic. The structure of the team, the way the team are playing. Yes, they were poor at Coventry and deservedly got beat, but the positive there was they actually took the lead. Despite as bad as they played, they still were able to get in front, and we've seen that again today. We've seen that, we saw that against Swansea. We didn't see it at Preston, but they should have done, and we've seen it here today. And what's good about today is it's little things. When things aren't going particularly well for you, you need little things to grasp hold of. And today, they've got in front and they've kept the lead. They've kept a clean sheet, the first one in what feels like forever, away from home. And let me just go back to see who it was that said it about the standard. Luke, I agree with you. And that's no disrespect to Blackburn, but we've said it all season. The Championship, Blackburn are in the playoff places, and they're having a really good season. But the Championship is bang average this year. There's a massive lack of quality. It's as competitive, probably as competitive as it's ever been. It's as compelling, if not more compelling than it's ever been. But the lack of quality is there, and that's what gives City hope. I think if you'd have said before today's game that City had won one game in 15 and they were still only a point away from safety, they were third bottom, a point adrift to safety, you would be surprised. I think in previous seasons, that kind of run, one win in 15 games, you would be, a little bit more cut adrift, I think it's fair to say. So that's again reason. And when you see a gritty performance like that, there's every reason to believe that City should have enough to get out of the trouble they're in. I still think there are going to be three worse teams than Hull City, and that's not saying too much, is it? Let's be honest. But we're seeing enough now under Ruben, with the quality they're showing, the organisation, the grit, the determination. And I know it's easy when they lose to slag them off and say they don't care. That I've always, as bad as they've been at times this season, I've never once criticised their effort or application, and that was evident today. You look at Alfie Jones's performances, that desperation to keep the ball out of the net, which they need, and they've got to have that appetite to keep the ball out of their net, and because of that, they've won a game 1-0 away from home, and I think that. Ruben sort of jokes about it that clean sheets aren't his gravy necessarily because of the way he plays. But they are crucially important, and we shouldn't underestimate that. And that is a big moment that they've got one under their strap, and they can hopefully build on that. And it's now, as I said, it's now about trying to put a run together and trying to put results together and make sure this isn't just a one-off, So we'll have to wait and see. But let's enjoy tonight. It's a good way to end the year. We had a good result before Christmas, a poor one on Boxing Day, but a good one to end the year. And we know it's not been great. Look, we started 2024 with dreams of playoffs and the potential of the Premier League and all that, and we're ending it facing down a relegation scrap to avoid getting back into League One. It's been a fairly poor year, and I don't think anybody could deny that. But at least it's ended with 2 wins and a draw in the last 5 games. That's a big step forward from where we were a month ago. So let's take the positive and look at hopefully going into the new year with some positivity and reason to be optimistic, because I think there is. I think under this manager that City have got, a real structure and identity of way of play, and it's exciting to watch as well. They want to get the ball forward quickly, and as Ruben says, his word is vertical. We want to play vertically. That just means basically trying to get the ball as quickly as possible. I think his attitude is why spend 10 passes trying to get it forward when if you can do it in 2, do it in 2. And I think that's the way forward. There's so many managers now, and we've said it before, that have become Pep Guardiola disciples. They all want to knock it around 1,000 times before they go. It's almost like they have this drill where we can't go past the halfway line until every player's touched it or we've completed 100 passes. It's really dull. It's really boring. I think football fans are just getting sick and tired of watching it. Whereas under Selles, he wants it. He wants them to keep the ball. He wants them to pass the ball, of course, but he wants them to go forward as quickly as possible. And we've seen it here in spells this afternoon, that when they get it forward, they can be a threat. And if they can get players in key areas, Kamara looked a different player after they scored. Longman looked a different player. They looked at a team transformed after they'd gone 1-0 up. So that's something really, really positive to be positive about. So. That's it on the game. Like I say, a huge 3 points out of the bottom 3, and looking up once again. I know Plymouth have lost again today, and it remains to be seen what happens with Wayne Rooney. But Stoke have sacked their manager. They've got a result against Sunderland. Oxford have sacked their manager. They've got a couple of big wins under Gary Rowett. It remains to be seen what happens with Plymouth. But City can only control what they can control, and ultimately winning games is going to be what they need to get out of trouble, and that's 2 in 3 is a good start, isn't it? So a couple of housekeeping points. Ryan Giles not involved today, injured, slight hamstring problem, but they expect him back for the game on New Year's Day against Middlesbrough, 5:30 kickoff at the MKM Stadium. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But given the prognosis of Casey Palmer and Charlie Hughes, and obviously that Liam Miller and Mohamed Baloumi are all out injured, it could have been losing Giles for 5 to 6 weeks would have been an absolute disaster as well. So it's good news that he's that's not any more serious than him just missing today. Carl Rushworth, lots of talk in the media just before this game about the potential of him being recalled by Brighton. It was our information a couple of weeks ago now that City really wanted him to stay, that they wanted to get him fit and then to come and really challenge Pandor for that number 1 shirt. But obviously, ultimately, it's Brighton's decision. Brighton, as is customary with loan deals, season-long loan deals, they all have break clauses in January. Brighton have the right to call him back if they don't believe the loan's working. And obviously, he's not played a minute of football, so it is going to be one of them. We'll have to wait and see what Brighton decide to do. But it wouldn't surprise me if they record him to try and get him out where he's going to play. You know, it would be a blow, I think. I've been really looking forward to seeing Rushworth come into the team. But equally, Pandor, you know, has got better with each game, and you've got Anthony Rachopi, who, let's not forget, was playing Champions League only a few months ago. So, you know, they've got two very, very capable goalkeepers here. But as I say, it would be a real shame if we don't ever get to see Carl Rushworth play for Hull City. So that's that. Nothing really on Ruben Selles, just kind of saying, look, he's not fit yet, so he can't go and play anywhere. He's not back in full training yet, I don't think. He's been in light training, but I don't think he's back in full training. We'll get a full fitness update from Ruben ahead of Borough anyway. Abdush Irma has again been linked to a move back to Turkey, but again, I'm told today that there's no truth in those reports at this stage, that he is going to stay at Hull City. And Finn Burns is another one to watch, because obviously, you know, he did come on for a few minutes, when he came on for a couple of minutes in stoppage time as City were trying to defend a corner. But again, he's not played much since coming on loan from Man City, so they've got a decision to make there over the next few days. Ruben did say after the game at Deepdale that a couple of signings potentially were close to coming in not before the Borough game, but before the Leeds game next Saturday. No update on that from him. I know Jared Dublin and the people back at base are still working on getting those deals in, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with those. So, and with that, I think it's time to end here, because we're getting the nod that Ewood Park is closing for business. Oh, Luke Bedia. Yeah, look, I don't think it'd be a massive surprise, would it? He seems a nice lad, Chris, but he's not really looked like, you know, scoring goals, has he? He doesn't look a threat. He wasn't brought on today. We've seen very little of him. He came on at Preston and offered absolutely nothing. And City, as we keep saying, and apologies to those that watch these videos regularly or listen to the podcast regularly, but they need to free up space in their squad and they've got to get players out. You know, I said a few weeks ago I expected 6 to 7, maybe more, to be moved on in January. Well, those 6 or 7 have got to come from somewhere. If Rushworth goes, that's 1. If Bedia goes, that's 2. They have got to get players out of this squad, because they are top heavy, and until they do that, they can't bring players in. So if it means ending, you know, it is going to cost them financially. If they choose to end Bedia's loan, it will cost them financially. There will be a financial penalty, but I suspect they'll probably see that as well, you know, we've got to do it to get him out, to bring somebody else in. So, yeah, and Malem, again, it's really hard, isn't it? Because you sort of get to know the players, not deeply, and I don't know Marvin at all, but you see them around the training ground, you speak to them, and you want them to do well. The players come in, and you know, it's not easy, particularly for players coming from abroad. It's really hard to come in and settle quickly and have an impact. And Marvin just hasn't had any impact. Obviously, he was a player signed by the former manager. He was a Tim Walter signing. Tim Walter really wanted him, so the club went and got him. But he's not in favour. And when you see when you see the impact that Gustavo, I thought Puerta was brilliant again today. Should have scored when he hit the post, but he's getting better and better. He's really young, so you know, he's got a future at the football club. I'd be surprised if Malem did. So that wouldn't be a surprise if he was moved on. They've got to, as I say, without wishing to rake over old ground, they've got to free up space in the squad, and getting players out is fundamentally part of that. And players that, Charlie, yeah. It always rains when I come here. I know I saw a stat the other day about the number of days rainfall in Preston per year is massive, and it can't be much less here in Blackburn. It always rains. Always raining here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to leaving Lancashire. Although they are very hospitable, I must say that. and we've got 3 points, so we'll be happy with that. But yeah, on Malum, I would expect that he would move on because he's not going to play, is he? Question there, I tell you on Will Jarvis. Look, the thing with Will Jarvis is he's still a young player. He's end product. I feel that Jarvis needs to go out on loan at a higher level than, with respect, Shelbourne. He did really well at Shelbourne. Damien Duff loved him, and he got the best out of Will Jarvis. Jarvis just isn't going to play regularly at City at the minute. It feels like he needs to go and maybe play in League One and prove that he can do it in English football on a regular basis before he gets anything more than a bit part chance. And City are going to try and sign wingers in January. We know that. They've got Kamara. They've got Ryan Longman. It remains to be seen what happens with Longman. It wouldn't surprise me if Longman was to leave in January. But I just don't see Will Jarvis as a player that Selles can trust, you know. And that's been the same with. It's tough, isn't it? Because he's a young player, and you don't want to kick a young player because he's got a really bright future. But Liam wasn't sure. Tim Volter was overly critical in the media about Will Jarvis. Ruben has had him in the squad, but he's not played him. I think Will needs to go out on loan and play in, try and go to League One, try and go and play games in the second half of the season. I'm getting the look, folks. So I need to, when they start giving you the eyes, you know that they're ready to go home and get there, whatever it is. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? It's going to be an exciting January. It's going to be a busy January, and we shall see what happens. But at least we can have a nice evening on New Year's Eve and celebrate 3 points in Lancashire. Up the Tigers.